Thank you for the opportunity, for inviting me. I think when we talk about the issue of misinformation and disinformation, sometimes I think we have to put in the reality of our um, sort of recent developments and the way in which technology is sort of taking over our lives. And maybe put it in proper context so that sometimes we don't compartmentalize these challenges. Um, for me, we live in society, but we also live in a democracy. The things we aspire as citizens in a society or in a democracy are really not different. You know, we want to be sort of good neighbors. We want to be civil to each other. We want security. We want peace. We want stability. Um, we don't we don't want to insult each other when we are talking. Like we are meeting today, if we're having a conversation, we will not be trading insults. It will be very uncomfortable if we're facing each other and we're just insulting each other. We will not be actually being violent to each other. We'll not be going around the place brawling. And somehow, we feel that when we are online, all of those things uh, are easy game. So, but these are values that gradually the digital space is testing all of us. That we have to, begin to reevaluate and reassess and begin to fashion out ways in which we can bring ourselves, to a certain core of ourselves. Because if we don't, human beings have a way of training themselves to sort of numb these kinds of traits, so that you become very comfortable. You can go online and be very, very nasty and come home and go to church and be very pious. And you'll be a very good human being and there'll be nothing wrong with you. Right? And that's how, a human being can behave. And you do it enough times, you become very, very comfortable with it. I think as we go into an election, these circumstances then intensify. And our passions run high. But these are the times that we even have to hold on to our values the more. What has changed with technology and with the consumption of information is that it's become more personalized. People consume information because they like somebody. The two things that is now being contested the most is truth and trust. So what I believe to be truthful is because of whether I like somebody or I believe somebody, or whether I trust an information is whether I believe somebody or I like somebody. And that becomes very, very difficult in a place where information is so decentralized and distilled. So many types of information that is people are generating citizen information, all kinds of information. And Dr. Akwete, that's why it makes the gap between online and offline almost non-existent, because what happens online is taken offline as well. What happens offline is taken online, and there's this circulation that's going on. So if we don't return to those values that we would normally exhibit when we are in that public space in society, then we would struggle to deal with the problems of the digital space. And no matter what kinds of systems or mechanisms we put in place, when you see a deep fake and you are not applying the same ethics you would apply when you are offline, and because you think that, oh, it's okay in an online space, you would behave the same way that you would not normally behave in a public space. So you would just immediately believe it and even forward it, even though maybe you would check if it was in a public space. Say, oh, I've heard this thing about this person, but I'm not quite sure, but let me check. But online, you immediately forward it. So I think for me, that's one big issue that we have to address. But that reality, I think, doesn't only exist for citizens. It also exists for policymakers and the state. Because in that same space, that same issue about citizens protesting, agitating, joking even about government, Ghanaians like that a lot, sort of reacting, giving feedback to government policies, that's also happening and mimicking online. How does government engage and respond to that activity that normally happened in the public space, now happening online, and generating its own challenges? How is that going to be now, I wouldn't say regulated, but even how government responds to it? It's also another area that we all have to try to deal with. And I think in all of this, for me, the key is basically what we are doing: consultation, engagement. With the rapid way in which technology is changing, there's no blueprint for finding answers, particularly lasting solutions to any of these things. And it is consultation and also the willingness for everybody to comply and find a consensus as to the best way to deal with these issues. So the more we engage as stakeholders and work together, I think the best way in which will be able to confront this and have mechanisms for adapting to the changing technology that is coming. For us at CDD, we're very much aware of this because for us, technology itself is challenging democracy at its core. And we need to understand the ways in which we can harness its benefits, but also confront its disadvantages. It's the reason why we are trying to learn also from what others are doing. So next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, together with the European think tank group, Overseas Development Institute, we are hosting a meeting of experts on AI, cybersecurity, and elections here in Accra. Honorable Minister will be there, DG will be there, because Europe is doing, I think Europe has gone further in terms of looking at how to regulate some of these issues, and there's a lot to learn from what Europe is doing. But for elections, we did something in 2020 that I think was very, very helpful. We tried to create a net around information dissemination using election observers, fact checkers, media support groups, media houses, mostly to do pre-banking and fact checking. And I think that if we do the same, even more in a broader scale, with other stakeholders, including regulatory bodies, we should be able to sort of reduce the circulation. Also with the platform owners, the Facebook and so on. But as you've said, there are places that we are still struggling to get to, like the WhatsApps and other places. But I think that helps. It helps in reducing the way in which the information gets blown up. So I think there are ways in which we can help during the elections. But I think for citizens, this is a very, very challenging. I worry for a lot of citizens who are sitting at home just receiving information and trying to decipher what is truth and what is not. But as much as possible, the posture to take is that Don't believe anything until you can verify it. And take your trusted sources from now. Build a relationship with the trusted sources so that come election time, you know that you are receiving it from a group that you can trust. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe,
and click on the bell for more updates.